Hello, everyone. I am a knitter, if you didn't know, and yarn is one of the main materials I need when working on any knitted project. I often purchase yarn that comes in hanks, which are large rings of yarn that have been twisted on it themselves. And winding this ring of yarn into a ball before beginning to knit is super important if I want to avoid a tangled mass of yarn. Though I have a ball winder in Swift now, I used to wind all my yarn hanks into balls by hand. And in this video, I'm going to demonstrate how to wind a hank of yarn into a ball that looks just like it would come off a ball winder. I'll also note tips I've learned on how to enjoy the process and basically wind the best ball you can along the way. Enjoy.
The first thing you're going to need to do is cut the tag off the skein of yarn. If you use it in a notebook or just keep it to reference later, you can put it aside. Alright. Okay, then after you take off the label, you need to undo the hank. So go to the bottom of the hank here and simply pull it out, and you can untwist it. And you have a very large loop that is not tangled, and we want to keep it that way. Along the loop, you're going to find different points where the yarn has this long loop has been tied with little bits of yarn. Usually it's often in the same color, same yarn, and these need to be removed before we begin winding into a ball. Now you can untie these, but I prefer to cut. It's a little bit quicker, and some of those ties can be quite tight. So you just cut.
As I go around the hank of yarn cutting these ties, one of them, these ties, will actually be the two ends of the yarn ring. I will pick one of the strands to use and begin my ball. You do need to make sure that if you come to the tie that's the two ends of the yarn, that you finish going around the hank and cutting all the remaining ties. So let's begin winding. What you'll need to do first, because we're trying to make a ball like it would come off a ball winder, where the yarn is able to be pulled from both the center of the ball but also the outside of the ball, we're going to first make sure we have about 6 inches of yarn hanging down that you can see here I've grabbed with my 4 fingers, and I'm sticking my thumb up, and that's what I'm going to wrap the yarn that's coming from the rest of the yarn ring hank around my thumb. And as you can see, it's important for the shape of the final ball to wind the yarn around your thumb at an angle. It is a little tricky at first, especially for those first few wraps, but as you add more wraps and you are adding a little tension as you wrap, not too much because it can get pretty tight on your thumb, it becomes much easier. Once you build up quite a few wraps, a thickness to that beginning of the ball, you can use your other hand to kind of twist this beginning form of the ball on your finger and continue wrapping at an angle. And you will continue to do this for the entire winding of the ball. It's kind of this wrapping at an angle and twisting. So it makes this very nice shaped ball at the end. Now let me show you what the hank or ring of yarn that you're pulling yarn from and winding your ball with looks like. Now there's many different ways to do this. My favorite way is to drape the ring of yarn around my legs. I find this is the most comfortable, although I do note a wooden chair is maybe not my ultimate favorite, but it worked for this video. Ultimately, it can take, depending on the size of the hank, it can take, and how fast you are, at least 10 minutes to wind a ball of yarn from a hank. So definitely make sure you're comfortable, but having my legs as almost like the Swift is my favorite way to hold the hank of yarn. But you can also hold the yarn on the back of a chair. The last thing I like to do when handwriting yarn, especially if I'm not working with it right away, is to take that final strand of yarn and wrap it around the entire ball a few times and then tuck the end into those wraps. It just keeps the whole ball really neat and tidy until I'm ready to start knitting with it. I hope this video was helpful to you. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them down below. And if you'd like to connect more with me, check out the links in the description below. Have a wonderful day.